Bitcoin is closing in on its all-time high of 69,000, and where it goes, if it breaks it, I don't think anyone knows. I mean, we know we're still going to see a meteoric growth, easily 100k, but do we see a pullback? I don't know, but your dopamine's running high the last few weeks, your profile's in very, very green, and you don't really know where to look. But if you have been looking, Jasmy is absolutely flying. We have seen a meteoric rise recently of 358% in just the last month, and that's kind of strange, right? Why all of a sudden Jasmy? And I took a little bit of time to have a look at the research, and Japan is actually moving to become more crypto friendly. If you don't know much about Japan, they've had a very stagnant economy for the last 20-30 years, and basically before, companies would have to pay 30% corporation tax on unrealized gains on crypto. And essentially what that means is if a company had 1 million in Bitcoin and it went up to double, they would have to pay 30% on the million. But if it dropped, I don't think they would get that tax back. I don't know the exact ways of doing it. So a lot of these blockchain firms moved out of Japan, but now Japan is looking to basically squash that law, which would basically exempt companies from paying 30% on unrealized gains, but obviously on the gains that they do actually sell, they would have to pay the tax. So it just makes it a little bit more fair because crypto is so volatile. How can you decide at the end of the tax year that they have to pay 30% if the next day it just absolutely plummeted? So Japan's just trying to basically make themselves more crypto friendly and essentially grow their economy out of this stagnation period. What does that mean for Jasmy? Well, Jasmy is dubbed the Japan's Bitcoin, and that's kind of the big narrative behind it. It's also this kind of Internet of Things data preservation that you can sell. It's also poised to be this Internet of Data collection, which you'll have a personal data locker, which you can then choose to sell your data to companies who essentially want to buy it. And that's something we're going to sort of investigate today. And I'll also talk about my price predictions for Jasmy and generally what I think about the coin at the end of this video. But anyways, if you do like the content, guys, because I just like to research why things are happening. I know at this point in the crypto market, we're starting to disconnect where actually a project is in its stage of doing things, and it starts to matter less and less, but it's really good to know what is driving it and generally the narratives behind it, so you can do your research on news, etc., alongside what I'm offering you. But if you do like the videos, guys, like and subscribe, it really helps. So Jasmy, it was actually thought to be a scam in the very early days, and part of that was due to its massive drop. If we actually take a look at Jasmy, we can see back in the old days, it was pumped to around $3-4, and it just plummeted. And I actually found some stuff around this, but obviously you can see people just calling it a scam left, right, and center, and it is kind of weird. Obviously this guide was saying Binance actually holds 14% of it, but there are some wallets that do hold quite a lot of amounts. But again, I don't think there's anything to be worried about. This is basically why Jasmy dropped in the first place. So essentially, I'll just short it. Basically, some ICO agency was basically trying to sell coins, and one of those was Jasmy, and essentially Jasmy didn't even have a price set yet. So people just started to think that Jasmy was a scam, and Jasmy actually posted this message on their website, basically saying solicitation regarding crypto assets, blah, 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 claiming to be a company, are not our company. It's not very clear though, and I don't know if this is just like the translation thing, but our company or affiliate companies do not sell crypto assets, which if you first read that, it's like, but you have a coin. It just kind of sounds like they don't even have a coin in the first place, which is kind of strange. And obviously they have two websites, which this one looks all fancy dancy and this one is just kind of shit, which again is kind of strange. But nonetheless, the CEO has spoken a lot about the Jasmy coin as well as the project. We know it's not a scam, but really, what is Jasmy? I mean, I did a lot of research on this, and whilst I can find a lot of stuff and a lot of data on other coins, a lot of the stuff I read on Jasmy is actually kind of fluff. Like, it's basically a concept where you can put all your data, basically you have a personal data locker and you can basically hold your data in it and choose to sell it to companies. And there's a couple of things that strike me on this, because they have to basically be the intermediary between you and the end company. So if you were using Facebook, for example, how would they get in the middle there to basically stop your data going out? And one of the ways they suggested was a Jasmy device, so wearables, etc. But they would have to make a phone. And I mean, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but otherwise they would have to create some sort of application that overrides your phone and the data going out. Now, I'm not saying that they need to collect all data to make it valuable. There's maybe some personal elements of data, maybe your medical records or something to do with your IDs, etc., that you maybe want to protect. But there's going to be quite a lot of areas that Jasmy cannot get in. And if you think of it like ad blocker, right? If you were using a Jasmy device or something like that, whether these apps would actually want to connect with Jasmy, they might just say Jasmy is not supported here. So that's just something to keep in mind with this kind of idea of Jasmy. I haven't seen any way that it's actually being used yet, which is a little bit concerning, but nonetheless, Jasmy is absolutely pumping and it has got a diehard community similar to that of ICP, and they're not going to see it go down. And with that amount of hype in a market like this where everyone's very euphoric, those coins are actually going to do pretty well. Anyway, I found this blog here and it basically says that Jasmy team has been unable to relaunch its personal data locker, which is the cornerstone of its monetization efforts, and just relies on buzzwords, which is pretty much what I said. It's just kind of seems a bit fluff. And Binance demoted the Jasmy as its no project list. Without further improvement, the exchange could just delist the token entirely, which I doubt because they're holding 14% of it. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then it's saying here about individuals' data is not exceptionally high. Some estimates a bank and credit card information is worth less than $10 combined. And yes, but if you had your browsing data, etc., if advertisers could buy that, that stuff is incredibly valuable if they know what you're looking for, if they know what stage of the buying process you are in. That data is actually particularly valuable. Some companies pay up to a few $100s for a lead because maybe you'd be a lifetime customer. That data is pretty invaluable. It's going to be worth a lot more than $10. So whilst I agree with some of this, I wouldn't agree with it entirely. But from that, I think compared to most projects, Jasmy is a little bit on the side of, I don't see anything going on. But there's this interesting thing here, and where the Japanese government's pushing to essentially integrate Web3 and make themselves more Web3 friendly, Jasmy is actually collaborating to support personal authentication and local currency and point services. And I have actually seen that you can use Jasmy to buy hotels on Traveler or something like that. So there is some applications, and maybe I think this is more one that just kind of grows in the background. I don't know if you know about the stock Palantir. That one just kind of deals with a lot with government contracts, etc., and they've actually grown massively. So it might be a bit more of a longer play, but the reason that I think Jasmy's kind of gone up is that Japan is changing its stance on cryptocurrency and just trying to push through these tax incentives. Well, the reason I think it's gone up is mostly because of this. I think because Japan's trying to make themselves more crypto friendly, they believe that Web3 is going to be the future, and they're just looking for an angle to get in and basically grow their economy. Like most countries are looking now to make themselves AI friendly as well. So this is Japan's way of basically trying to do that. And I mean, this could be a far cry, but Japanese people are very nationalist in a sense that they don't really interact as much with the outside. They like their own things, their own stuff, because it is the Japanese Bitcoin. Maybe these companies are just buying it up because it's something that they made, they trust it. The Japanese government has huge penalties for white collar crimes. You could do up to 10 years in jail. So I think maybe they're just trying to keep it within the country, and perhaps part of it is that people just see that their country is becoming more crypto friendly, so they are buying Jasmy coins. So it could ride that huge wave of Japan basically opening its doors to crypto, and it still had a pretty small market cap down here, so it had a pretty good run from there. And where do I think it's going to go from here? Well, I think it's just going to follow the trend of a lot of the large caps in this market, and generally it could have an upside of 4 to 5x like quite a few other coins, because really it's just a lot of euphoria at the moment. A lot of these larger caps, not the huge caps like Solana, but they're not actually doing a lot right now. They're not ready yet. They might be ready by the next bull run, but we've still got some ways to go. I think a lot of people will be trading in and out of Jasmy. So is it a good time to buy right now? Probably not, since we've seen such a huge rally. Potentially we're going to see some pullback, and then we'll likely see another rally as pretty much everything starts to move up in this crazy bull market, because we're literally only just getting started right now. Like, Bitcoin is just starting to grow its interest. Currently 2.7 million people are searching a week, but at its peak we had around 5 million. So we're still only around halfway of the actual interest growing in crypto. We still have a long way to go. So do I think Jasmy is a great project? I don't know. Like, it's got ambitious goals, kind of like similar to ICPs, but I can see ICPs being more fruitable. I just need to see where Jasmy sits in this data collection process, more so before I believe it's a good project. But again, it's just hype, guys. The hype is just going to drive a lot of these projects up. It doesn't really matter if it's got a big market cap, unless something goes particularly wrong. A lot of these are just going to do very, very well. So don't go all in on Jasmy, maybe like 5-10% of your portfolio just to diversify, because then you'll be able to catch the pumps as people cycle between coins to maximize their profit. But anyway, guys, if you liked the video, like and subscribe.